I'm sure Frank recognizes the skyline behind me.
Yeah. I know my skylines. Even though I'm not from New York, but it's fine.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frankie Steph Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Brad Gilmore.
What's up, movie trivia Schmoedown fans? This is the Schmoedown Rundown. I am your host, Frank Janisch. Brad Gilmore could not make it tonight. I guess he had other things to do. I think also he probably found out John Rocha was going to be on the show tonight.
Damn right.
He might call back in. Well, I don't know. But as you heard the voice of John Rocha, we are also joined by the current Schmoedown singles champion of the world, Dan Murrell. Boys, thanks for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
Yeah, looking forward to it. You
All right,
introduce the champ first, then the outlaw. He's the champ. You introduce the champ first. Oh,
Well, I gave him a little more accolades than you.
yeah,
so.
that's true.
We're both champs.
Yeah, both champs, yes. But let's jump right into it because at the end of the Friday match between the two rookies, Oyama and Meyer,
Who?
Riley pops in. Yeah, we'll get there, John. Don't worry. Riley pops in, and you guys are haven't seen each other in a while, I guess. Dan, you're off in New York, winning the belt. Rocha, you were still back in L.A. Riley, he came off a really good win with McWeeny, and he's part of Who's the Boss, and they had a great run last year. He was teaming up with Bateman and Dagnino, and I think it looks like Bateman and Dagnino are kind of turned over a new leaf in a sense, and Riley proposed to you, John and Dan, that maybe you guys should take on Bateman and Dagnino. Rocha, that didn't really sit well with you, due to your history with Team Action, and that was Bateman and Andrew Guy. So, how do you think? What are your initial feelings, though? What was going through your mind when Riley was proposing that?
Well, shock is the first reaction. Shocked that he would even think about that. I know I'd heard it in the wind from fans, but I never thought Riley would be one of those guys to propose it. It really shocked me. And Bateman, of all people, they've only been teammates for 2 or 3 months. How can he really know Bateman has turned a new leaf? Look, I get that he got slammed through a table by Andrew Guy, but, it's that scorpion and the toad situation, right? It stings you when you let him ride on your back. No surprise. That's how Andrew Guy is. But when you look at Ben Bateman, I don't know how much he's turned around or changed because it's way too soon. And all those Team Action vibes against me and against Top 10, still too fresh in my mind. So I just was shocked. That's the number one reaction I had.
And for you, Dan, obviously Ben Bateman was a former teammate of Andrew Guy, who is somewhat of a nuisance for you last year. Do you have any feelings any which way about Ben Bateman or Dagnino and their influence they might be having over Riley and bring it into your group?
Well, I've had a little bit of dealings with Dagnino before. My brief stint in the Lion's Den. As you know, I left that faction because I wasn't really feeling much support from them. Other than that, two of us have been like ships in the night. As far as everything that went on with John and Team Action, that was the time when I was away from the game. I was not around then. Obviously, I've had my dealings with Andrew Guy, but me and Bateman have not crossed paths that much. So... the Horsemen is a faction that I was brought into as a 5th member. Obviously, the two guys, Rocha and Riley, at my side. I love standing with those guys, and I want us to be a good team, but I also want us to be a peaceful team, and I don't want us to fight. I don't want us to be like a lot of these lesser groups that can't even get along with each other.
Sure.
If we're going to be united, we got to get along. So. There is a lot of stuff that I need to get up to speed on, and right now I'm just kind of waiting it out. I respect that Riley has had a lot of success in the short time that he and Ben have been together, but I also respect the history that John and Ben have, and that John and Team Action have. So I think it's a situation that's very much in the air, and one that I am still trying to get the full scope of at the moment.
and you say horsemen and not 5 horsemen. What are you technically called right now? I mean, the 3 horsemen, just the horsemen. What's going on?
We'll still throw up to 5, right? We're still the 5 horsemen. The horseman is the nomenclature. It's the shorthand. But we're still the 5 horsemen, and I think we knew, obviously, with losing Nost, we knew we were going to have to bring in one more member. Didn't necessarily see Jason also stepping away for a while, so I think it's kind of fluid. But we're still the 5 horsemen right now, and I think that's ultimately what we want to get back to being.
Yeah.
And so you are actively looking for 2 new members. Then it's safe to say.
I mean, John, I don't know. I don't think there's ever been an official meeting or anything. We haven't set an actual agenda.
Yeah, well, champs don't need to. We communicate just like with our minds. We understand it. We feel it. We all exist in that certain extra layer of existence in the atmosphere. And we know. Dan and Riley, they trust me. They know I'll go find the best. I pulled them into this faction. Look, we lost Jason Inman, a former champion, for other reasons. And Matt knows just, the game is just not for him anymore, and that's okay. It's different than the way Burnett and Bibiani stepped out of it. Those guys were choking away matches, and they wanted to find excuses for not being part of the Horsemen, so they left. That's fine. And what Dan said is actually 100% right. We don't want to bring in people who are going to cause division, cause problems, because the thing we're at this other level now where we kind of want to set an example for other factions. Strong, cohesive unit that's all in for each other and supporting each other all the way through. We tried it the other way in the first iteration of the Horsemen, and it just didn't work. This is the right iteration of the Horsemen. So the people we bring into the Horsemen need to understand that that's how we're going to run this faction.
Gotcha. Now, I want to switch gears to Dan, and you won the title off of Ethan Irwin in New York. First of all, I got to know, what was it like being in that room, hearing the chants? You deserve it. Going through that whole match, just from beginning to end, what was your emotions like?
It was surreal. It was a surreal experience. Just walking in that room was amazing. I think I said it when I talked to Ken, but as loud as it sounded watching at home, in the room it was 5 times as loud. That group of fans was incredible. The only thing I wish is that I wish I could have had Rocha and Riley up there share the moment with me.
We were there.
Yeah, John, I wanted to ask you, because I think you were watching the live stream. What was it like watching your teammate and Dan Murrell from thousands of miles away, trying to root for him, root him on? What's it like to be on the sideline, A, and B, not being able to be there in person?
Well, Frank, you asked the best questions on the Schmoedown Rundown. You're the best host, not that hack Gilmore. So I appreciate you asking me these 2 questions, because they're absolutely correct. A, yes, it was. I was of 2 minds watching this. I'll be honest with you. I'm still hurting from that loss to Ethan, losing the belt, losing the chance to face my fellow horseman Dan Murrell one-on-one. Again, losing that opportunity hurt a lot. So I wasn't sure I was going to watch, but halfway through the Janine match with Chance, I just kind of I decided to dial in. By the time I dialed in, match was happening, and I'm glad I did, because it was an incredible match. Hey, even if I'm not participating, the thing is, I love the game, and the game was played to perfection by both the former champ Ethan and the current champ Dan Murrell in that incredible match. So it was an honor for me to be able to watch it, and I was nothing but emotional afterwards for Dan, because I know the road he's been on since that guy loss, and to see where he's gone to, it shows an example too, that just because things knock you down, people make fun of you, or you lose when no one expects you to lose, doesn't mean you can't still rise back up and reclaim a title or be a champion again. And Dan showed that more than anyone else in this league. He showed that with this journey.
Yeah, I guess a question for both of you then is, you won it the one time, and then you lost it, and then you win it a second time. So you've won the title multiple times. What kind of, is that more of a vindication of, even, let's say in your case, John, you didn't defend it, but you won it back again? Does it give some sort of vindication, even though you might not have defended it, which would have been nice, but you still proved that you could win it again? What's it like to win it 2 times, and Dan, in your case, 3 times, something no one has ever done?
Well, it was great to win it a second time, especially, against a former horseman, Bibiani, who had talked all kinds of mess and tried to, kind of denigrate the Horsemen and denigrate me as a competitor. So to me, it was super sweet to win it a second time. And because people thought that, the game had passed me by, I'd gotten too old, what have you, and I'd taken some tough losses. So to come back and win it again was great. But look, people, the only thing they can hang on me now is I have never defended the belt. But the people I've lost the belts to have all been incredible champions. The Patriots went on a 9-game winning streak. Mark Reilly, it was a 2-time champion. Ethan Irwin was a beast this whole season, and it went all the way to the last question with Dan Murrell. So I have no shame in the way I've lost the belts. Have I not defended them? Sure. So this is my last goal in this league, is to win the belt back and then defend it one time, and then no one will have a damn thing to hang on me anymore, because that's all that's coming is that weak sauce stuff about not having defended the belt.
And for me, it's there's every chance that I've gotten to win the belt has been completely different. The first one, obviously, the first time that I won it was incredible and amazing. Obviously, I lose it to this guy right here. To get to face him and Reilly to win it again was incredible. To win it that way, playing Levine right after that to defend it was incredible. And then obviously this experience was completely different as far as my path going to the tournament, which I've never done before. Didn't quite win the tournament, was able to get myself in a position to win. And then you look at all the amazing people in this league playing in the singles division, not to mention the other division, but just in the singles division. You look at your Rachel Cushings, your Mark Andracos, and your Clark Wolfs, and people that have done so much in this league that have not yet been able to win the championship. Number one, that just means that the best are always going to be coming for you, and you always got to be ready. And number two, it just makes me feel grateful that I've been able to win it, not just once, but multiple times, because it's never an easy road. I've never won a title and been like, oh, that was easy. And it's not getting easier as the game goes on. No. It's getting harder. And a lot of those names that I just spoke a few minutes ago, I think you're going to see with that belt on their shoulder. I don't know if it's going to be next month or 6 months from now or next year, but there's some greats out there that are hungry and that want it. And it keeps you on top of your game because they're on their own championship roads.
Yeah, and here a question for you, John, is all those names Dan just listed, you're going to have to go through some of them to get back up to the mountaintop and potentially take the belt away from Murrell or whoever it might be at that time. What do you, because the singles league specifically is much deeper with people like Ethan Irwin now coming, and there's you have Lon Harris as well, Ben Bateman making strong runs, and Mark Reilly's having a resurgence. So you have a lot of players to go through. How do you navigate that? How do you stay one match at a time? How do you keep that kind of mentality?
Well, you've been around the league long enough. You figure out how to, navigate these kinds of situations. And what you're telling me, the road is hard. What else is new? The road's always been hard. Playing the best has always been hard. I've taken the belt off 2 of the best before, and two of the best in the tag team division. The Schmoes know. So you tell me the road is hard, that's nothing new. And I like it. I like the road being hard. I don't want to beat up on cupcakes like Chance Ellison or Janine. I want to beat up on the best. And the best of the best is Dan Murrell, Clark Wolf, Mark Andraco, Rachel Cushing, Mark Reilly. So many great names you kick around that are in there. And hell, you can even throw in, of course, Bibian and Ethan. We have not heard the last of Ethan. That's for damn sure. And I want my revenge match on Ethan. I'll tell you that right now. So to me, that's what motivates me, is like proving that I belong among the best again for another season. It's motivation. It starts all over again, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'd rather have it this way than like easy cupcake wins that you can't feel good about. So to me, I love that the road is hard. I love that the challenge is more difficult. Look, my life is facing challenges that people think, oh, there's no way he can't do it. There's no way he can make his own. It's nothing new for me. So you throw in a bunch of even more determined, hungry competitors in my way, that makes the challenge all the more sweeter when I win.
And Dan, I got to ask you, you're the champ, and you're going to have to defend this belt against a formidable opponent, whoever makes their way up to you. Is it fair to say that perhaps there's not as much stress on you because players like John and Bibiani and Ethan, they're going to have to go through each other to get to you. You can just sit back there, and whoever comes your way, comes your way. You don't have to deal with as much. Is that a little bit more comforting to know that?
No, because that means that whoever gets to me went through those other people, and that ain't easy. So I know, in a weird way, the more people you have to go through to play for the belt, the more I am intimidated by that person, because they had to go through that many more great players to get there. And I think that's the difference is there's no easy road. I know a lot of people, I see all these conversations when they talk about, like the GOAT discussion and what was my road to the belt? What was Sam's road to the belt? And like the one thing they always throw at me is like, well, Dan's the first time Dan won it was easy. He didn't have to go through as many people. And first of all, I disagree with that. On a lot of different levels, but I will acknowledge that the game works. The game works a little differently now, in the sense that a lot of times, if you're playing for a belt, you've gone through more tournaments, you've gone through more number one contenders matches. There's more of a structure there now than there used to be, and I want to defend. I mean, I have defended in the past. I'm happy to be. I think Sam and myself are two, maybe the only two, or two of the only people that Riley that have defended the belt. But I also want to defend it now. I don't want to just rest on my laurels having defended it in the past. I want to defend it again. So I don't look back and think like, oh, I'm glad that they all beat up each other and I only have to face one of them. Because I figure the person that comes through that meat grinder is going to be hungry and ready. Because I know that's how I felt coming to that number one contenders match and through the tournament. When you face so many great people, you feel like you can take on anybody. And I know that person is going to be me.
Well, good luck to you when that time comes. Now, I asked some of the fans to drop a couple questions on our Facebook page, so I want to run a couple of these by you both. So, Delisha Renee asked, what do the Horsemen wish to accomplish this season? Now, you guys are obviously team founding fathers, but as a whole, perhaps, or as a team, what's the ultimate goal, you think, for this season?
I mean, multiple belts, obviously.
all the belts, all the records? Is that the old adage?
We got to find a new adage, I think. All the belts, all the records has kind of been used up. But I think by the end of the year, I hope I can speak for Dan when I say this, but I want every member of the Horsemen to have a belt at the end of the year. There'd be nothing better than the stand at the Schmoedown Spectacular, stand up, all of us holding a belt, our own respective belts, and show the world that we are the greatest faction ever to play the game.
Now we have another question here from Leon Halleck. It's a question for you, Dan. Do you have any aspirations for getting into the inner geekdom and potentially grabbing that belt?
A lot of people ask me that question.
Yeah. But I'd ask you too.
Well, I think because a long time ago, I think after the first free-for-all, I'd said something that I think I said in an interview or something. I'd said that was something that if I gotten that title shot, that cash in, that maybe inner geekdom was something that I would be interested in. It's not something I'm looking at right now. First of all, I got my hands full with the singles division, not to mention my friend John here, the two of us together as the founding fathers in the teams division, we've got a lot on our plates right now. And secondly, I feel like number one, it is such a specialized, even more so than a couple years ago, a specialized skill division inside the Schmoedown. That it's a whole different kind of preparation that I don't really know if I want to take on this second. And probably most of all is that there's somebody that I'm very close to that just did really, really well in the inner game.
Sure.
And I am very happy with the performance of our household in that division and will have been for quite some time. I'm more than content to just sit back and watch the people that are currently fighting for the championship in that division do it for a while. So I'll never say never, but it's not something I'm looking at right now.
Question for you both regarding inner geekdom. When you watch those matches, how do you generally do? Just how do you just? I'm just wondering, how do you wow, I actually did pretty good that match. Maybe you wouldn't have won, but you're surprised yourself ever?
I do okay.
Yeah,
but I've never gotten one of those championship matches, and they've asked any of those last questions. And I'm like, oh, that's easy.
Yeah,
those are insane.
I'm like Brad Gilmore at a speed dating thing. I only get one number by the time I'm done. Yeah, that's basically.
Some people would still call that a victory.
Right. Well, one question right won't get it done.
I guess. All right, last question before you get out of here, Dan. This question comes from. I just saw this. Where is it? Joachim Skahem. I don't know if I even said that right. Probably not. But he asks, question for both of you: if either one of you were to win free for all, and let's say Dan, you don't have the belt. You don't have the belt at all. What title are you challenging? What are you cashing in for? What belt are you going after? Singles or teams? Yeah, let's go. Let's start with John on this one. What would you do? What would you do?
Honestly,
Dan doesn't have the belt.
That's tough. If Dan doesn't have the belt,
yeah,
then we go for the tag team titles. Absolutely. There's no matter who has them, we go for the tag team belts. That's what I would want because it'd be nice to be a tag team champion with Dan. I've never been that with anyone else besides Nost, and I think we'd have a fun reign. Two-time champion in another division. Yet another record I would have. But like the other possibility would be, depending on who has the belt, if someone that I really want to face has the singles belt.
Ethan Irwin has the belt.
If Ethan Irwin has the belt, goddamn right. And I love Dan. I respect Dan. I'm going to get my goddamn belt back from that fool. So, yeah, absolutely, Ethan Irwin. By the way, I say that with all kinds of respect. Ethan is an incredible competitor, and it would be a great challenge to face him and to beat him and to maybe make Jay Washington be quiet for one day in his life, if that's possible. So. But barring that, Danny Boy and I. Yeah.
I mean, I think if I didn't have the belt, it's always hard to pass up a title shot in the singles division. Like, especially if you got it, how do you? But I think I would definitely I'd have a talk with John because number one, it would be great to have a title just in another division. I think that'd just be fun. It would add to my resume. It would add, as John mentioned, to his resume as far as being a two-time champion in two different divisions. So I think it's something that I'd probably talk to John about and then make up my mind.
You guys looking at the free-for-all, obviously. It's at the Los Globos Theater, I think, is the name of it. You've seen the venue, and it looks incredible. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there. I know everybody else is.
It looks like a great venue.
All right, Dan's going to get out of here, but I want to thank you for your time stopping by, Dan. It was a pleasure to have the champ right here on the Schmoedown Rundown. Best of luck to you the rest of the season.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I think it's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be real fun. There's a lot of great names out there, and I think there's going to be a lot of great games to be played this season. A lot of them are going to be with me and John.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Either together or who knows. Maybe a title match for the ages, another one.
One more time, baby.
Anybody I'd rather face for the title than this fella right here.
All right, that was Dan Murrell, and now we're going to be joined for the rest of the show with John the Outlaw Rocha. Thanks for sticking around, John.
My pleasure, man.
We're going to get into a couple of the matches that happened this week, and we're going to, right now, talk about some news in the Schmoedown this past week, or last week, rather. I want to get your thoughts, too, on live events. Chicago and the free-for-all we kind of talked about a little bit with Dan there. How important are the live events to the Schmoedown that you want to convey to the fans?
I think they're incredibly important. It's not just only because it shows our power to other people that might want to book the Schmoedown in their venues. It shows also it allows for the fans to connect with the competitors and to see how the game really goes, how the game is really played. And it's fun to watch on YouTube, but that's edited. When you come and watch it live, mistakes and all, everything is kept in there, and it's a unique experience for you to come watch. And, you get caught up and swept up with the other fans there, too. So you find a community of people who also take this thing incredibly seriously and love it as a sporting event. So that's what I would say. And if you support the Schmoedown in any way, coming to the live events, paying for the tickets, being there in force, it shows the competitors ourselves that what we're doing is beloved by people that who come to see us watch. It's 1,000%. It's a great situation that pushes the game forward and pushes the Schmoedown as a whole to the next level. It shows that we're a real thing.
Now I'm kind of curious about this point of actually, for me, when I fly out there and I go to the studio and I watch the matches and I come back home, I'm kind of reinvigorated with the Schmoedown and what we do here on the Rundown and everything with stats related and the site. I'm reinvigorated. in past years, there wasn't any live show. It was all in studio, and it was a long year. It was a long season. It went from January to November, basically, when you guys taped. But now with the infusion of the live events, and you get out and connect with the fans more, do you perhaps get some sort of rejuvenation if it's been a long season or a long couple months, and you get out there with the fan and it's that live atmosphere? What does that do in terms of how you approach the Schmoedown going forward from that point?
I think that's a great point you bring up, this idea of being reinvigorated to come back even more determined and more motivated and more excited to participate in the Schmoedown, to compete in the Schmoedown. When you do it for as long as I have, it can get exhausting because there's so much to still learn, and the questions get harder and harder every year. The amount of movies that are in play to be selected from, it gets long. The list gets longer and longer every year. So you got to find those different ways to motivate yourself, and definitely being there with the fans does bring that all back. I can't describe to you the feeling of what it was like to come out the first time at that live event, say Outlaw Nation, and have that fan base there live go crazy. It was an incredible experience, and that woke me back up again, because you can see people's comments on YouTube or on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, but it isn't the same as being there live. Being there live, you really sense how people respect you as a competitor and like you or don't like you as a competitor. So it's fun.
Right.
It's fun.
Right. Now, some other news that happened this week was the birth of a Schmoedown podcast feed. It's going to have all the matches. Chris Clark, who's back this week, he's actually helming the production of turning those matches into audible matches that are easy, to digest instead of watching it. Obviously, Chris, you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing with the audio feed?
Essentially, the new audio feed, me and Christian have talked about it with the great guy named Scott, who's actually running the Himalaya podcast, the Acast podcast network. It's now on Spotify. It's now on iTunes. Go and check it out. The matches aren't audio rips of the actual videos. I get the raw board tape from Aaron, and I edit the actual show itself as if it was a podcast. I take out the background music, I take out the cutscenes, I take out the promos. I edit it to where it is digestible for a listener or a newcomer, just to get the gist of the show for the podcast network. It's actually a little bit more complicated than just ripping audio and putting it up. It's essentially editing the match again from the ground up, audio wise, and it's a really, really interesting experience. I never thought I would ever have to do that, but you know what? It works really, really well. So far, the feed has been really, really successful. A lot of people have been subscribing to it. So, just make sure to subscribe to the audio feed. Check it out. Support it, because there's going to be a lot of surprises ahead. Just wait and see. Yeah, and I think... Yeah, and I listened to this week's matches. I watched them, but I also listened to them, and I gotta say, it's a really good experience listening to the matches. You're right, because if it was just a straight audio rip from the video, the match, right? Because you're right, you cut out some of the stuff that wouldn't really make sense to listen to. So it isn't. So if you're kind of skeptical about, well, I watch it, I don't know how it's going to translate to audio. Chris does a phenomenal job at retrofitting it basically for a podcast feed, and it comes out really, really well. It's a really enjoyable experience, to tell you the truth. And I know I sound like a shill when I say that, but I mean, it's the truth. John, have you ever listened to the feed? Have you had a chance yet? Yeah, I have, actually. It's a kind of interesting way to listen to the content that Schmoedown puts out. I know, it's actually very peaceful. Remember that scene in Big Lebowski when he's like listening to the bowling matches? Like that's what it feels like to me when I'm lying there on my couch just with my Bose headphones on, noise canceling headphones on, and I'm just listening to all the content. I get transported into the Schmoedown world. So absolutely, I love it. You know, it's interesting because I wonder now if this would be a new tool for competitors to prepare, because you don't have to have the video going up, because it pops up the questions. That doesn't happen for you in the live match. Whereas audio, I mean, you're basically, it's
does it somewhat sort of replicate the experience that you might have at that desk, aside from the cameras and lights and all that, obviously?
Well, yeah. I mean, you test yourself because you don't know how quickly the other person's going to answer when you're listening to the audio content. So your challenge is to answer within the first 3 seconds or whatever, or first 15 seconds, that what have you, depending on the round that it's in. So to me, I like that. I like the challenge of it all. And here's the thing: if you're studying how to play someone else, people's tells are in the noises they make, in the soft noises they make when they hear a question being asked. So there's something there as a competitor that gives you even more of a leg up on somebody, that gives you an idea of like how they're playing or how they feel they're playing.
You bring up audible cues, John. I don't think there's anyone else in the league who's... damn.
Because now you can hear that without the music.
Yeah. Some other news, too, that apparently a lot of the Schmoedown community didn't watch Jedi Council this week because the Rundown account posted that Molly Damon is going to be entering the Fatal 5-Way match that's going to be held at Star Wars Celebration that Friday. She is the other half of Star Wars Explained. That's Alex Damon, the current Star Wars champion. So I think that's a very interesting development. Andrew DiMolanta, I hope I said that correctly, is going to be in that match as well. So we know 2 of the 5, and I think we know a third one's going to be in there. It hasn't been 100% confirmed, so I'm not going to say it yet. But this kind of goes back to a question that I had last week on the show in regards to you, John, because I thought I had heard once upon a time that you were entertaining the idea of entering the Star Wars League. Is there still any truth to that?
Yeah, actually, there is a very strong truth to it. I don't know if you've been following me, but like the life's been in a bit of an upheaval here with the Lady Outlaw and moving in and all the stuff over Christmas.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. And we're about to go to London with the Top 10 show, doing our live show there on February 23rd. So I haven't had the time to commit to the Star Wars pursuit just yet. But once things settle down, starting in March, that's when I start watching these movies over and over and over again, making notes. I had a little bit of a dry run last weekend, sat there and watched the Star Wars movie for like an hour, made 4 pages of notes. Now that I understand the questions that are going to be asked in the Star Wars matches, I understand the type of things I need to be paying attention to when I watch these films. So it's almost an advantage to not having been involved in the Star Wars competitions early. Now I can see how the whole thing played out and then adjust my training to fit that.
Interesting.
So I'll be in there somehow. So if Christian lets me in there, which is a tough sell for him sometimes, I want to be in there.
You think there's a possibility that could happen this year?
Later on this year, yes. I think it's a very strong possibility. Not for Celebration, obviously, but certainly down the road there's possibilities. But that Star Wars title is difficult to defend. You know, Alex doesn't live in Los Angeles, so it's him flying in to defend the title. So it's only at certain times are you allowed to. So I'm probably going to have to play some people on the lower rung of the ladder in the Schmoedown in the Star Wars division in order to qualify and show Christian that I should be considered to be one of the people in the mix for maybe the next Fatal 5-Way down the road.
Interesting stuff there. And also, I think we should note this week on Inside Schmoedown with Ken Knapsack, who had Dan Murrell on, talked about the Fatal 5-Way and that he will in fact not be competing in that Fatal 5-Way match, which I kind of found a little shocking. But Ken, he won't be in there. So I think people love Ken. People would like to see him go after that belt again. You know, he did have his shot last year, but it didn't work out. So it's unfortunate, but nonetheless, Ken will be at Celebration. So you just look at to see Ken and enjoy Jedi Council and all the stuff he does there. So no worries about that. I'm trying to. What else do we have, Chris? Do we have any other news you can think of? I don't think that much happened this week.
Whitney's in singles.
I got a bit of news for you.
Uh-oh.
Chris might not like it, but I got a bit of news for you.
Oh, boy, here we go.
If you were watching on Collider Live a couple of days ago, I had some things to say about that Schmoedown website, didn't I?
That's right.
That,
you know,
the greatest website.
I mean, it's up there. It's up there.
Sure.
I work on it. That's pretty good.
I support that website. The problem I'm having is I think there's a bit of a bias due to the editor of that website, and that's what I brought up in Collider Live. I respect Bibbiani's accomplishments as a writer. A lot of people love his reviews. Very incisive, intelligent guy, breaks down a film in a lot of ways that I had never seen before. So his reviews, you can learn a lot about movies from watching his reviews. The problem I have with the site a little bit is I feel it's a little biased against the Horsemen. It's biased against me. It's biased against me and Matt Nosen. I haven't been excited about some of the articles because there haven't been articles that have been criticized other competitors to the level with which that I'm criticized or the Horsemen are criticized, and it's a little frustrating. There's enough to nitpick about every competitor or have honest discussions about every competitor in the Schmoedown, and I shouldn't be the only one that people go after this frequently. That's my issue with the website.
Can I count for a counter? Is it perhaps the case that you're brought up so much, whatever light they shine on you, is merely for the fact that you deliver the clicks? I mean, people see your name. No matter what the case, they're going to click on it. I mean, is there any sort of pride in that? Any kind of honor in that?
If that's true, then I understand it. That's fine. But I just want the coverage to be a little more fair. There are other people in this Schmoedown who have choked in numerous number one contender matches or title matches, male and female. There have been numerous people who have blown it in third rounds and fifth rounds in matches, and they don't get covered as much or they don't get criticized as much because, hey, they're friends with the editor. I want more free. I want it to be more fair, and I want writers that are more willing to write honest, truthful articles that break down every competitor. No one should be untouchable. No one. And that's what I think is a bit unfair, is like, oh, let's just bash on the Horsemen or bash on Rocha. That's easy. Why aren't you bashing on other competitors who haven't won titles or have only won one title and just can't seem to get other titles? I want a more fair, open thing. That's what I'm advocating for. And I respect Bibbiani and what he's doing. It's not easy to run a site. It's a lot, and I know it's stressful for him. But to me, it's just how I look at it, right? It's like you're doing the wheel slice thing, and I am known for biopics and westerns. One of the pioneers of the wheel slice favoritism or wheel slice professionalism, and you don't ever ask me to write an article about what it's like when the westerns slice comes up or when the biopic slice comes up. No offense to Miss Movies and dance movies, but that hasn't come up to the level that biopics and westerns have come up in my matches, and yet I'm not asked to write about it. And I shouldn't have to go to him. He's the editor. Come to me as the outlaw. Be like, hey,
well, I think maybe also part of it is who's currently active in the league. So hopefully once you get your run going, whether it's in teams and singles, there'll be more Rocha founding father centric articles that perhaps paint a better light and your road to a title, perhaps.
I don't need to be painted in a better light. What I'm asking for is more fair coverage of everyone else, criticism of everyone else too, not just me or Andrew Guy, for God's sake.
Do you maybe we can work out something, John, where you can be my ghostwriter and you can just write it for me, and then I will post it under my name, and so then we'll get Bibbs never listens to this, so he'll never know what's going on.
Bibbs listens to this show every week. These guys are screwed.
Fool! I don't need to write under your ghost. I write it myself and submit it.
You should.
I won't. No. That's. But it just something that's stuck in my craw because top 10 Matt Nose moments. The number one should not be him walking out with Bibbiani. It's me and Nose winning the damn title. That was ridiculous. Or me and setting the points records against team top that. You look at the heels. There's no way Andrew Guy is one of the greatest heels ever over me. I laid the groundwork. So all of that gets a bit frustrating. And the Horseman curse. Where's that Horseman curse now that Mark Reilly and Ben Bateman went to the championship for the title?
Well, John, I'm going to be honest with you. As big of a fan as I am, it didn't look good. It didn't look good for a while. You got to admit. So I don't think it was.
Sure. If you look at the short term. Look, the Patriots were 2-2 at the beginning of the year. How'd that fucking work out? I'm just getting to the point here,
Yeah.
You would know that as a Bears fan winning Super Bowls. The Patriots win Super Bowls. And so I'm just saying, you can't judge someone.
You're not a Patriot fan, are you?
No, but we've won more Super Bowls than the Bears have, my Reds.
That's true. But, look, I got nothing to say. I got to say it. Bulls, that's all I got. Michael Jordan. I got you.
I get that it didn't look good early, but they were putting themselves in positions for things. So I think we've killed that horseman curse narrative, which was started by a certain someone who couldn't get the job done, as an excuse. So now that we're done with that, let's move on.
All right. Chris, where's Paul?
All right, you want me to add him?
Yeah.
Now we unleash the demon.
And right now we are joined by Paul Oyama, the newest rookie in the singles league this year. He went up against Brendan Meyer. Paul, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, how's it going, guys?
Good. You had your debut match, and first off, Paul, what was it like when you found out that you were going to actually compete in the Schmoedown? You're leaving the fan leagues, you're coming to the big leagues with the likes of people like John Rocha, Dan Murrell, Rachel Cushing, Ethan Irwin. What was it like to know that you're going to be within the studio and potentially face one of them one day, possibly, hopefully, maybe?
I mean, it was kind of a long time coming, not to be that guy, but I mean, once Chance was called up, I think it was only a matter of time before it happened, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, what else was there to do? It's kind of the next step for me, so.
So you're saying once you found out Chance was on his way up, you thought, well, then this is probably going to happen.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
It was basic math.
And then when you found out about your opponent, what did you think?
I'm not sure I thought much. It's again, kid from the Tooth Fairy. I'm not sure that I had many thoughts going in. You never underestimate any opponent, but it wasn't someone that I was, laying awake at night worrying about. But it was an opponent. I was just excited to play and show my stuff.
Okay. And how do you approach a Schmoedown match as opposed to a fan league match? Is there any difference, or you just kind of keep up the same regimen?
Not really. Just watching movies, knowing movies, answering questions. The process is pretty much the same. Format's a little different, but at the end of the day, it's really the same preparation, the same readiness. I mean, there's not too much different to it.
Okay,
besides having to fly to California, I guess. So it's a little different.
You're also out in Arizona, is that right?
No, I'm in Indiana, actually.
Indiana? What, really?
Yeah, I go to Indiana University. I'm currently a senior, so yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you're not too far from, I guess. Well, a little bit, but not too far from me. Let's get into the first round of your match. You're up 6-4. What questions bothered you the most that you missed of the couple that you missed?
I would say the release dates one. I was looking like Rocha over there, totally lost with the whole release dates. But it was interesting. That's just a frustrating thing. I didn't think about it enough. Just should have used a repeat, but it's one of those things where I'll just think about it more next time. I wasn't sure about what the question difficulty would be, so I don't know. It just kind of waited out first match. So I love Mean Girls, but that's Lacey Chabert is just not really a name I've ever really associated. But just pretty standard, I'd say. Okay. And after one round of play, did you feel? Obviously, you're coming confident into the game. That's been apparent to everyone in your pre-match interview. Yeah. And after one round, then, did you think Brendan Meyer? He's a little bit better than I thought. He's about what I thought he would be, or less. What would you think there? He's about what I expected. 4 out of 8. Based on I had seen him at a couple of the tapings and stuff.
Okay.
And he usually do pretty okay. I was more disappointed in myself than anything. I wasn't really focused too much on what he was doing. It's more about my own game. So, but 6 out of 8, I can live with that.
Now, as we get into round 2, you deferred to Brendan Meyer. He ends up on Festival Darlings. That's kind of been a category where people are especially since the Bibiani-Levine match, where they're not really sure what was going to come out of there. It was picked up again in another match recently. So when you got Festival Darlings, did you think, well, given that the history within the Schmoedown, he wouldn't be too good, but did you have confidence that you could pick up steals? Because you did go 1 for 2 on steals. Yeah,
I wasn't sure what to think. The categories have been retooled, but generally speaking, most categories, I feel pretty confident that if someone misses it, especially on multiple choice, that I'll be able to pick up steals. I missed that one, which I should have known, but just kind of slipped my mind. But going into the round, I was feeling pretty confident about him getting it. He didn't seem super stoked about it, so I think that's also kind of fed into my energy. But yeah.
Now, John, you hear Paul's comments about how he approaches the match and the rounds. How does it differ from your approach when you first entered this game?
It seems like the same.
Yeah.
You know, just like studying movies and answering questions. Yeah.
Now, actually, I want to ask you about.
I don't blow Harry Potter release dates though, but I mean, that's I have different.
You just blow every other type of release dates. Got it.
Yeah.
What's your John? Well, real quick, your thoughts on Festival Darlings, because that's been kind of like a category where people are, I don't know what to do. Is that something you would entertain, or is it, if you had the option? I mean, obviously, if you get stuck on your second spin, it is what it is. But
well, when you work at Collider, you get access to a lot of these movies, and Perry, working with Perry Nemiroff, so you get to hear about all these smaller Festival Darling type movies. She covers a lot of that stuff. So just by osmosis, you pick up a lot of stuff, and of course, your own interest in things as well. The indie circuit's always where I've existed since the 90s in terms of movies, so it wouldn't have overwhelmed me. It would have been fun to challenge my knowledge in that category, because I rarely ever hit that category. I mean, I've never hit that category, but it's also rarely on the wheel.
True.
So, but I hear it might be becoming more of a frequent slice on the wheel. So, so it's something I'll have to study up on.
Now, Paul, you have a pretty decent lead, 7-point lead going into that final round. Did you think that Meyer had it within him to go 3 for 3, get the full 10 points, and send it back your way, or were you basically just sitting back waiting for that TKO to come your way?
To be honest, I kind of expected to TKO him just because most people don't come back from 7-point deficits in that kind of situation, and he wasn't really on his game. Either way, I was just ready to answer questions if I have to. But I didn't really expect him to come back from that. But he hit all three. All credit to him. But I mean, I was just ready to answer my questions as soon as the ball kind of rolled over to me.
Now, you only needed the 2 questions. You get your 5 points. You win 19-17. How do you think your debut stacked up against some of the other greats in this game who had their debuts? Where do you think you would rank your debut all time in the Schmoedown?
It's kind of hard to say. It didn't get to the 5-pointer, so things could have swung one way or the other. I mean, I'd say Ethan and Viviani both had better debuts. They missed 1 and 0 questions respectively, but I think it's pretty up there. Especially as of recently, but it's one of those things where, again, I got chances to steal, and I think I can do a lot better in my next match. So, I mean, it was a good debut. I think solid first effort, but I think that there's a lot of room to grow. I mean, that's kind of the same with a lot of people in this Schmoedown. Just your first match shouldn't be your best match, so it's kind of up from here, I think.
Okay. Now, we saw in your post-match interview, and a little bit in your pre-match interview, talking about Chance. And how you never got the opportunity in singles in the singles fan league to face him. I want to ask John though, because you've had a run-in with Chance when you played Corruption as Founding Fathers and that whole debacle, if you will. We won't get into it, but given from what John you've seen of Chance, and I don't know what you've seen of Paul, how would you compare Paul and Chance in terms of the rest of the league and where they might stand?
I feel like Chance is way more prepared than Paul. Chance had a better debut. Chance feels more motivated, more driven, and I can tell he loves the game and studies the game well. And he was a worthy competitor in our tag team match, even though he got away with the technicality and that David O. Russell bullshit. But Chance is a fun guy, and I look forward to going toe to toe with that guy. And he respects the game. Did a good job in that live match against Janine. So he's growing quickly. He's definitely a shooting star in this league right now. I can't wait to face him down the road if we ever have if he ever gets enough victories to come up to my level.
And Paul, when you look at Chance and how he's performed in 2 matches, does that give you confidence that we were once in the same kind of fan leagues, that I can kind of hopefully replicate or even surpass his play that he's put on so far?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really too worried about that. I mean, his first match was a team match in which they completely botched round 2, and honestly, barely skirted away with a victory. He was obviously pretty good against Irwin, but kind of just clawed his way to victory against Janine. I'm not sure I would call it an impressive win, but I mean, I've always been confident that I can beat Chance. I mean, I think he knows it too. So I guess we'll see if we ever do face each other in the ring. But it's just one of those things where I'm not really worried about it. I think he knows that I know enough to beat him, and that's kind of what matters.
You guys faced off in a fan league team match. Is that correct?
Yeah, in a team match. He had his usual partner. I just had some random dude who scored, I think, like 3 points in round 1, and we did win that day. But I guess singles could be different. I mean, it won't be, but we'll see if that ever comes.
You won, or his team won?
My team won. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you kind of have a little something on him coming from the fan league.
Yeah, he always likes to use this excuse that he was tired or something, but that's I don't know. That doesn't really check out for me. It's a match is a match, and he didn't show up to play, and he lost, and pretty clear to me that would happen again if we were playing singles. So I don't know if that happens. We'll see.
I want to ask you about this sunglasses thing, because you're indoors, and I understand bright lights, and Chance, he also wears sunglasses indoors, even in the dark at the theater. Is that like a fan league thing? Is that how you guys identify yourself as from the fan leagues? Because I don't know. Is that some sort of calling card thing? What's going on there?
I wouldn't say that. I've never worn sunglasses in the fan leagues. It was really just a practical thing. Like in a literal sense, the lights are pretty bright, so I didn't want that to be distracting me. So I just wore sunglasses, and that was just the thing, And plus, I look good in them, so that doesn't hurt either.
I think we should put a poll up for that one, but that's debatable. Now, Paul, who do you think you might want to face as your second opponent? Is it Chance, right? Do you want to get right at Chance because he was a fan league, or you're just like, it doesn't matter? I just want to play in the league.
I wouldn't really want to face him right away, to be honest. I kind of want that to be more of an event match. I think that's maybe not an event, but I think that's something that you build to. I think that it would be a little early for us to play now. I would be down to play kind of whoever, but I think someone with similar 1-0, 1-1, 2-1 record, preferably someone who has a positive win differential, I think would make the most sense. At least I would think. But I would be excited to play whoever. It's just the game's a lot of fun, and showing off your movie trivia knowledge is always a good time. So it doesn't really matter necessarily to me who I play next. But I think the Chance thing would be better served to be a little further down the road.
Okay, John, do you have any kind of any read on what you think Paul might be able to do in this league?
No, it's only been one match. I've seen plenty of guys debut with one match and then they choke away all kinds of opportunities, or they go to 500 record. I mean, Drew McWeeny has a 500 record. Let that sink in for a second. So, I think he actually
is 4-5 now.
4-5, yeah.
Right. Worse. Yeah. So you look at that and you go like, hey, well, that's what happened. So it's easy to. Brendan Meyer is come on, that's a cupcake. So you go say, okay, what can you take from that? Not much. You handled your business. I don't think you should criticize the Janine victory. This is an even easier victory. Kid didn't even know he had multiple choice on the table. So you dance around that kind of stuff. It's an easy victory when you get one like that. He's making money being an actor. He doesn't have to focus on the stuff too much. So I respect that Paul's got he's got the drive, determination. I see the swagger and all that put on. That's what young kids do. You let it be, and it's we'll see how far it takes him. I see him and Chance have the same kind of. They go to the same kind of personality guru. So I respect the fact that they want to wear sunglasses and swagger around it, get attention, and do it. Knock yourself out. Do whatever you need to do. But it doesn't fucking matter unless you win matches. So, do all that shit you want to do and swagger and talk all that smack until you win matches or even a title, even smell a title. Then I really don't know what to tell you. So he's got the right attitude. He's determined to win. So that's really a big part of being a champion in the Schmoedown, or being a good competitor in the Schmoedown, is determination to win.
Okay. And Paul, coming into this season of the Schmoedown,
the Michael Jackson jacket, though, he's got to get rid of that Michael Jackson jacket. You can't wear that again, for fuck's sake.
Just because you can't pull it off, you don't have to be upset. Don't worry.
I wouldn't pull it off. I wouldn't pull it off.
No, because you would know better. You would know better.
Right. Yeah. I like girls that talk to me.
Yeah. Sure. Gotcha. Really need your help in that department.
Come on, guy.
All right, now, Paul. Let me get you out here on this last question. If you were in the free for all, what would you go right after that singles belt, or would you say, hey, look, I got an idea of a teammate from the family that I would want to go challenge? Let's say the Sharpers are still champs at that point. Who do you like to go after? Shirewolves, Dan, Murrell, if you have the option to if you won the free for all.
I mean, I don't know if I would have the power to pull someone up from the fan leagues to use as a teammate. So I think that's a little sketchy ground there.
Let's just say you could. Let's just say that you could.
I mean, I don't even know if I would want to necessarily.
Okay, fair enough.
I think that that the talent's kind of here in the Schmoedown. That's kind of the cream of the crop. I'm not sure. It really, again, it depends who's champion at that point and what the other circumstances are.
I'm saying Dan Murrell is the champ.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I personally would love to play Dan. I think that would be that'd be a great battle, and I think that's something that I would look forward to. Again, that's very very far in the future. This hypothetical free for all win. We'll see if I can deliver that, but yeah, probably singles, just because I don't think that there's anybody that I necessarily have in mind as a teammate right this moment that I would be willing to take on a championship team with. I think that's someone you kind of have to build chemistry with. I think that using that for a team championship with someone you haven't played yet is, doesn't really have the recipe for success. So I would probably just use it on singles, to be honest.
Okay. And then, let me ask you this then too. In terms of teams, you say that Schmoedown is the cream of the crop, and you've been a fan of the league for a while. You know who's in the Schmoedown. If you could and pick anyone in the league, whether they're on a team or not right now, who are you looking at? And you're like, that would be fun to team up and go after go on a run.
I mean, there's a lot of people that I would like to play with, but the thing is, most of the people are on teams, and I think that just in terms of practicality, it's not good for your health to whisk after someone who's already on a team. So I'll just kind of leave that be. There's plenty of people that I love to play with, just pretty much all the elite players. I mean, it would just be fun playing in a team match because I think the team format is probably the most fun league that we have. But I mean, it kind of depends. Probably someone who compliments me in a satisfying way, which I'm not quite sure who that could be yet, especially in terms of who's available. So I'll kind of leave that one dangling in the air a little bit. I've got a couple people sort of in mind, but nobody that I necessarily want to come out and name right now.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Well, I want to thank you, Paul, for stopping by. I'm sure you're very, very busy doing whatever it is you do.
A lot of classes.
A lot of classes. Student, Oh, okay. Well, good luck with the classes, and good luck in your next match. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, that was Paul Oyama, one of the newest rookies in the league. Comes away victorious in his first match. He's got a 1-0 record over Brendan Meyer. Now, let's get into the match.
He's got some fire, Frank. He's got some fire. I like it.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't want to tell him to his face.
That makes sense. I wouldn't.
Fire. Him and Chance. There's like quiet, stoic fools wearing them sunglasses trying to be cool because they're still in their 20s.
Right.
They don't realize it's not cool. But I appreciate that they're angry and they're hungry and they're determined to do things in this league. I like it.
Yeah, you can't inflate their egos that much this early.
Nah,
you can't do it.
Earn it, fool. Win some games, win some matches against real competitors. Then we'll have conversations.
No,
but I like he's got the right attitude.
They're on their way. They're on their way. Yeah. Now in this Inner Geekdom match, it was the number one contender match because, as we know by now, Jason Inman and Mark Hanopik have stepped away from the game, so that left at the top Adam Lavick and Rachel Cushing as the top two players in this in the division. So they are playing a number one contenders match. Winner will play Mike Kalinowski at the first ever Schmoedown Throwdown. That's happening next Saturday. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be the third live stream basically of second live stream of the year. In consecutive months, basically, almost. This is a pretty important match for Rachel, given the fact that she wins this, which she did. Spoiler alert. She's now in line. She has a shot to become the second person ever to be double belted. The first to do it with an Inner Geekdom belt. So. A lot was writing on this match for Rachel. I don't know if she was feeling the nerves or not. I don't know if you got that sense, Rocha, about Rachel, if she was, feeling like, I got to do this because people expect me to do it. Because sometimes having those expectations can kind of backfire on you.
Yeah, I mean, look, Rachel is she is a match-by-match competitor, and, for her and the struggles she goes through, we should all be thankful anytime we get to see Rachel in a match because it does take a lot out of her. And, she's not a person who is who was like determined to be on camera or striving to be on camera. If you remember way back when they introduced her during one of the Schmoedown shows when they used to do them at night, I said to her, she's really great, but just wait till the lights turn on. It's a whole other ballgame. People are like, oh, don't say that. That's mean, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nah, it's the fucking truth. And, you know, Rachel is one of the best competitors we have in the league, but it does take a lot out of her. And so as I said, when we get a chance to see her, it's always a joy. And I thought she took care of business here. Whatever she was going through, I can't speak to because I didn't have conversations with her afterwards. But she even if she wasn't 100% there, she still handled her business and took out Adam. So you can't argue that. If she's not even 100% there and she can take you out, that should scare the hell out of everyone else in that Inner Geekdom, including Mr. KO himself.
Yeah. I mean, look, so in the first round, she outscored Adam 8-6, and then we get into the second round. She spins opponent's choice, and this question goes for any league that she's playing in. If she lands on opponent's choice and you're playing against Rachel Cushing, even more scary in the Inner Geekdom, what category do you give her? What, for real? Adam took the full 5 count to determine. I guess I'm going to give her movie release dates because that's something he's somewhat has a good knowledge in that category. Didn't go his way because he was down. He was only up. I think it was by 1. He was only up by 1 point by the time Rachel got her turn. So she ends up with an 17-11 lead going into that final round. Adam couldn't get it back to Rachel. He only gets his 2-pointer. He whiffs on his 3 and 5. It's a very interesting player, Adam, because he beat Hector Navarro last year in the first round of the Inner Geekdom tournament. Former champ. You know, that's no easy feat. So I always feel like Adam, he has it within him to pull off a big win, but I think he's one of these players that's kind of still finding his way in the league, but also needs a little luck or a little more luck than normal to get through some big matches until he can kind of really figure out how to study for the Schmoedown, especially the Inner Geekdom. Because I don't know how you guys study for teams and singles, but I think it's got to even be a little bit more daunting in Inner Geekdom because those questions go a lot deeper. Even though you know what you need to study, they go a lot deeper. You kind of talked about it with Star Wars. You know, you're looking at it in a different light now because you're like, I'm looking at the matches, how the questions are, and this is what I'm kind of looking for. It alters your viewing experience tenfold probably when you watch these movies because you're like, I would have looked at that had I not been in the Schmoedown.
Yeah, there's a lot to. When you look at Inner Geekdom, there's a lot to jump into, and you ask yourself, well, what is Rachel? How much work does she do in this situation? And it's a lot. And so, she has the right preparation for it. And when you get something, I don't know, it's just it's difficult in the long run to see where you're going to go with someone like Rachel in terms of her knowledge. Like, where are the weaknesses? You said it. Where are the weaknesses? She doesn't have a lot. And she spends a lot of time studying this stuff, a lot of time.
I guess I want to ask, in terms of her being a triple threat, obviously you want to win a team belt, a singles belt, but when you see someone like Rachel, are you kind of rooting to see that rare feat of someone being triple belted, or is it like, no, I need to have the singles belt. I'm sorry, I need to have that team belt, so this feat can never be accomplished. Where do you kind of sit with that?
I really don't have an opinion about that, honestly. Okay. I kind of just flow with it. If she does it, she does it. I can't really stop her if I'm not one of the competitors. So, I can't say anything about that. I'm like this. If you want to go for belts, great, go for belts, but don't you retire after you get them. Fight them and defend them. If you lose them, then you can retire. And to me, that's the thing in the long run is I'm like, if you want to go for belts, great, go for belts. You want the glory, great, go get the glory. But don't just retire with them and get out. Fight to the end, and go until you can't go no more, and then you're done. So for me, that's the thing. I'm cool with people going for all the belts that they can. Triple belted would be fantastic, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's a lot to ask of Rachel to jump in to do, all these belts. But it's certainly possible. If anyone can, it's Rachel. She studies this game religiously. I think that's why she always hesitates before doing these matches because she knows how much it takes out of her, and you got to respect that for me, you've seen me break down in that team match with Dan against Corruption.
Yeah.
Like, those were our honest feelings there. And people don't know. After the cameras went off, I just sat and cried for like 5 minutes, letting all that emotion out. You know, I got no shame about that shit. That's why I win belts, is because of that emotion. So, you know, you see someone like Rachel who takes it hard as well. That's the thing you have to think about. So if she can overcome the stuff that she confronts within herself to go out and do these matches and wins 3 belts, I think it's even a greater accomplishment than those of us who don't necessarily overcome those things at that level that she tweets about and talks about that she deals with. So I give her a lot of respect if she became a triple belt winner. Absolutely.
Now she's going to face Mike Kalinowski for the belt again at the Schmoedown Throwdown. No easy feat. Because this Mike is a different Mike than a couple years ago. Even, you know, because Rachel has beaten Kalinowski in Inner Geekdom, but that was a few seasons ago. This guy is a completely different player. I've heard many stories of how he trained last year and was preparing for his 2018 run, and it ultimately led to him having the Inner Geekdom title. So, I mean, it definitely paid off for him. I think people out there who look at this matchup and go, well, Rachel beat him before, you know, she just, you know, she had a tough match, you know, she went to 11 questions in overtime. It was just a bad beat, one of those kind of deals. She can take Kalinowski. I don't think it's that cut and dry with this match. There's just no way. This is going to be, I mean, the couple Inner Geekdom title matches we had last year with Mara and Inman, and the 2 matches she had with Kalinowski are some of the all-time matches, especially in Inner Geekdom, if not the entire history of the Schmoedown. I mean, they're really coming down to the last question. Insane questions being asked on them 5-pointers. This one, though, I think Kalinowski has finally reached a level where, personally, I think this could go either way. I mean, their knowledge, I think, is equal. Rachel has been doing, I think she's been more consistent at a high level for longer than Mike. So but is it really, when you're in a groove, how much does a groove really help you out when you go on a run?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I can speak to only my most recent run, and I was definitely in a groove. You know, I didn't anticipate beating Bateman. After that Schneider loss, I thought, well, I'll face Ben. Let's see what happens. And, you know, I wasn't I didn't study that much for Ben. I really didn't. I kind of was like, well, if I know it, I know it. If I don't, I don't. I'm tired of being stressed out about it, right? And I walked in there, and, you know, the fates smiled down on me. And then the shock of Riley losing to Guy, that was like massive shock to me. Yeah. And so having to face Guy, I was a little more determined. So step by step. And then once Christian said, well, if you beat Guy, you face Bibiani for the title, then the run was on, son. So, like, to me, it was about that, the motivation of it all. But being on a run, you start to find confidence, and you start to believe, and you think the game is looking out for you. I'm telling you, at least that's my approach. Okay. The game is looking out for you, you know. And if I had been a little more dialed in with Ethan, I think the game was looking out for me too, giving me sports, movies, like all of that was set up for me. Yeah. If I had been in the right mental frame of mind to take him on. You know, I think I would have taken that match from him and defended the belt in New York. So it would have. Going on a run is really important. It gives you confidence as a player, and it gets you into a rhythm. And people are intimidated going up against you when you're on a run. They think, well, can I really stop him or her? Can I really do it? And so you just never know. But yeah, when you get on a run, it can be intimidating and daunting.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you. I mean. Exactly. I mean, yeah, that was a scary, one of the best runs we've ever seen. He went on
I would say that's the greatest journey to a title the Schmoedown's ever seen because of the level of competition he had to beat. No one's ever come close to that. Yeah,
I don't think. I mean, yeah, I would have completely. Well, I mean, Levine had a pretty tough. Well, he didn't win it, actually, or did he? Oh no, he did. He lost the teams.
Tournament?
Yeah,
right.
That tournament. Yeah,
he lost the teams.
He lost the teams. That's right. So he did. I mean, that was a pretty tough road. I mean, he went through you, and he went through Rachel. I mean, he ultimately faced off against Harloff, who was pretty beat down after that day. So after a long day at Spectacular, but yeah, I think you're right. Ethan definitely has the best, most taxing run in the singles. It was really incredible to watch him play last year.
Yeah, and I think when Levine went on his run, you could argue that some of the players he beat weren't like as dialed in as they are now. And so I think that's why the Ethan run is even more incredible. Dan Murrell determined to avenge the Andrew Guy loss. Clark Wolf there, a young, hungry Chance Ellison, and then eventually me. So he went through a lot of players to get into his position that were hungry and at the top of their game. So that's why I put it up there.
No, I think that's a great point. That's a great point. Chris, we haven't heard from you for most of the show. I was just wondering your thoughts on the matches this week.
Well, look, from what I've seen about like Paul from the families, from what I've known about Paul, even though that he might seem like one of the worst heels ever, like in terms of personality, he's fantastic and he's a great villain. He's also somebody you cannot sleep on. You cannot sleep on Paul. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with moving forward. And as for Rachel beating Adam, I feel like Adam gets a bum rap. Adam has gotten a lot of bad luck. You can even look at the what do you call it? The Patreon movie release dates thing. He was still good in that match. It's just that who he was facing just were so much more in tune with what the topic was. And when he's facing Rachel Cushing, he might not seem like he's the best player compared to Rachel Cushing, but Adam could still keep up with the best in that league, and I can't wait to see more of him in the future. And of course, I would love to see Rachel win all 3 belts. That would just be great heartwarming because, look, we all love Rachel. She's amazing. Great friend to all of us. So I would love, and I would be happy to see Rachel have all 3 belts in the future. So whatever the outcome of this throwdown is, I just hope that the future of what it brings for Rachel and her storyline can just be fulfilled. So if she wins the belt, she could potentially be Inner Geekdom and Team's title belt holder until they face Critically Acclaimed. So that's going to be it's going to be interesting to see Rachel's story moving forward. So 2 great, phenomenal matches this week.
And before we wrap up this edition of the Schmoedown Rundown, I want to talk about some of these storylines that happened this week, especially with the 5 Club, Emma 5. John, I don't know how closely you follow these storylines, but as we know now, Emma, she won the Commissioner's Bowl. She's now commissioner of the Team and Inner Geekdom League, and that's a conflict of interest because she was managing the Shire Wolves, and Christian was in the Collider Live podcast studio, I guess just sitting there. That's what it looked like from the cutscene. In walks Emma 5, and he goes, hey, conflict of interest, you can either decide to remain commissioner, or you can forfeit it and stay manager of the 5 Club. She decided to stay the commissioner, and she had a conversation with Rachel and Draco about it, and they were fully supportive. And I find it not that surprising, but like at the same time, it's almost like they were just almost too happy for her. Like there wasn't like some sort of like, darn, it's like not all darn, but just like kind of like we had a good thing going here, and you're kind of looking out for yourself in terms of being the commissioner. But I guess that's just how the 5 Club rolls. I don't know.
It's a good. I don't know. It's a good opinion you have there, Frank. Certainly, these storylines are built to be analyzed. You wonder, well, Emma went for the power grab rather than staying manager of her faction, and all of them were supportive and all that jazz. But we've seen supportive people say one thing to someone's face, and then behind their back they say something else. So who knows?
Or tackle them right in front of their face.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I owe him for that one. Trust me, I'm going to get him back one of these days. But you look at this and you go, okay, well, look, Emma went for the title. Maybe they were too happy. I don't know, Frank. Maybe there were some issues going on with the 5 Club that we don't know about. Who knows? They present a united front, but you never know behind the scenes what's going on. But if everything's hunky-dory with them and this is cool, then it makes sense because they also support each other rising above and getting titles and getting more notoriety and power in the Schmoedown. So if they were happy for her, maybe it was authentic on their end. They were happy for her, and Emma's taken on a new challenge. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's better than the alternative, which was Finstock, for God's sake. So this is
right.
This is a better move all around, I think, for Emma. And so we'll see, though. We'll see. Maybe you might be right on your analysis, or you might be reading into it. I don't know, but certainly the next few months will bear it out. We start to see cracks with because she can't be biased. So this may be a situation where the 5 Club starts to feel a little bit like she's being overly biased against them to try to prove that she's not biased for them. So all that stuff could come out as it goes along. And certainly we've seen that Five Club is held together, but it can fray at the edges. You never know. I've been in a faction that's blown up before, so I know what that's like. So you never know.
Yeah, you're right, because like even though they parted ways on good terms, it's what happens now once she's now has that commissioner power, still in the team league, which the Shire Wolves will be still defending their belt. If there needs to be a serious ruling, I don't care that she's the commissioner. She once upon a time managed them. You're going to have an attachment to them no matter what, and other teams and players will look at that and say, there's still some sort of lingering, even though it's not official, there's still some sort of bias there. Or you're right, she could try and swing it the other way and it goes too far, and now it's detrimental to the Shire Wolves, and then in an unfair way, and then now they resent her. And so, it is all hunky-dory right now, but weeks and months down the line, it could turn a little sour, and that could be really interesting because people love the Five Club, love their camaraderie, their chemistry. It's going to be interesting. Now, that was in the beginning of the Intergeekdom match.
I do want to say one last thing here. Sorry, Frank. With this whole idea with the Five Club and the commissioner stuff, will it be that way? God forbid this comes down to a title match and a decision that has to be made by Emma as the commissioner on a question, on an answer to a question or a ruling. That any number of things could happen. People can see it certain ways. Listen, I've dealt with it with Christian when I was starting out as the Outlaw, and it was like, oh, he's giving Rocha all these opportunities because he's friends with Rocha or friends with the Outlaw. Nothing could be further from the truth. People still complain that I get title shots. It's been a year and a half since I had one, but people still think I had some kind of bias or whatever. So that bias stuff, people see it or read into it as much as they want to read into it. So if it comes down to that, we've seen controversial decisions. Lord knows I've been on the opposite side of some of those. So we've seen those come down, and who knows if a commissioner will have to make these decisions and how that could play out.
Because, right, Emma's going to be the commissioner when Rachel Cushing is going for the belt in Intergeekdom.
Against Mike Kalinowski, right? And then defending the belts.
In the teams.
Against Critically Acclaimed.
I mean, Kalinowski could really go after Emma for any little slip-up. And, look, I don't know who, or Critically Acclaimed could do the same thing if they find any little sliver to grab on. So it could get real nasty real quick, depending on what happens. Now, at the end of that video, that match, we saw a little cutscene here of Ken and Grace Hancock, and she is back. Interesting what's going on here, because I don't really know what Ken's doing. I mean, yes, he's with corruption, but how does Grace mesh with Kalinowski and Chance and what they kind of got going on over there? Very interesting. She seems to have some sort of idea of how to whip them into shape. It seems she has some sort of different mentality, perhaps, because Kalinowski, in the end, at Spectacular, he got duped. He got used by Christian and by Paulie G. So she's coming in here. I don't know if Kalinowski's on the outs, even though he's currently the champ. I don't know what's going to happen with there. I'm excited to see Grace back in the Schmoedown. It's been quite some time. It was a lot of fun seeing her with the Lions Den. If you were a fan of them, or if you just like to watch them, it was a good time. So I'm happy to see Grace back. And what's it like having Grace around the Schmoedown again, John?
It's great for me as a personal fan of Grace. I'm always happy when I see her. We became fast friends at Collider when I took the job, and sitting next to each other, there was a lot of exchanges. And there's no one who's been happier for me with all the things that have been going on in my life than Grace Hancock. So to see her back in the Schmoedown is great. That being said, that Lioness is no joke. So Kalinowski, Chance, all of them better be ready to surrender their balls and put them in a box, because Grace Hancock does not play, son. She does not play. The Lioness goes for what she wants and gets it. So if she's got to whip these boys into shape, they better listen, or they're going to be on the outs, that's for sure, because she does not play. And I wish she was I'll be honest with you, if I ever needed a manager, Grace Hancock would be the first choice I'd ever go to, because that woman will whip my ass into shape and get me focused and never let me get down about stuff. So I respect and love Grace very much. So to see her back in the Schmoedown, let me tell you something. everything's in play now when Grace is in the Schmoedown. Everything is in play. You don't know which way this is going to go, and it's great for the storylines and great for the drama of the game.
Absolutely. Now, getting into the Friday match, the singles match, the first cutscene we had was of Roxy and Andreyko. Now, Andreyko last year, due to Anarchy, was teamed up with Snyder, and they were the odd couple team. And since now the Five Club has broken up, there's the Shy Wolves, then there's Mark Andreyko. And where does that leave him? Well, he's like, odd couple, Snyder and him, they had a good thing going, and they ran into what was it, the Cinemaniacs? Is that correct, Chris? Well, yeah, that's right. They lost, but I thought, they had some really good showings in the couple matches they played. And Andreyko, really seemed to mesh with Roxy and liked her style. And he kind of goes to her and says, hey, you should be our manager. And so it looks like Andreyko is... It's interesting that Andreyko was once part of the Lion's Den, left, where Snyder was a part of. That whole thing blows up. Snyder goes, ends up teaming with Andreyko. Two former Lion's Den members somehow find their way back to one another, and this time, now their manager is Roxy Stryer instead of Tom Dagnino. I think it's a really, really crazy turn of events there in terms of those people lining up again and it becoming a team. Those two are quite the characters. Andreyko is wickedly smart. I don't know if people really understand just how intelligent he is. And Snyder is as fiery as they come when it comes to this game. You know better than anyone else how he plays the game. So, and let me... you've seen it a couple times last year, Andreyko. If you're on the opposite end of him and, you tick him off or you leave an opening for him to like stick some jabs in there, he can mess you up.
Yeah, Andrew Guy will tell you. He eviscerated Andrew Guy with one comment in that Ben Bateman match.
That's right. That's great.
If 1 second a man was standing in front of me, and the next second I turned around after that comment, and Andrew Guy was in diapers. It was incredible how he just completely emasculated that fool with one comment. So, Andreyko's no one to take lightly. Him joining up with Snyder is a formidable tag team.
Yeah.
The odd couple is right. Having Roxy in there, who kind of levels them both out, is a good combo. So all three of them, they're an interesting tag team to put together. So, if we face them down the road as the founding fathers, that will not be an easy match at all.
Yeah, I mean, given your history, obviously, with Snyder, you definitely want to beat them, and we give you a little vindication. Wouldn't you to beat Snyder, even if he wasn't teamed up with JT?
Yeah, I mean, if there's one guy I want to destroy, it's Jeff Snyder. No, honestly, in this game. We're friends here at Collider, but when the lights turn on in the Schmoedown, I want to destroy no one more than I want to destroy Jeff Snyder. Because he's somehow found a way to beat me every single time. I understand Dan's frustration at me before he finally beat me in the triple threat. He had lost to me in tags and singles a few times, and it must have frustrated the living hell out of him. And he probably felt the same way about me that I feel about Snyder. There's no way he knows more about movies than I do. For God's sakes, he didn't know Amity and Jaws. So, to me, that's enough right? That's enough to, both Matt Nose and I watched that match, and we almost shot Snyder afterwards. We're like, wait, you get to spout your film criticism, and you don't know these fucking films from the 70s? What's wrong with you? But both of them have holes. Both of them can be unsettled by stuff. Both of them think sometimes the game is biased against them. So I think this year, if we face them, it's about staying cool and calm and collected and taking care of business. And I've beaten Andreyko before in teams with him and Burnett. Yeah. So, I've done it before, and I've never beaten Snyder. So it would be an interesting thing to face them both.
It's interesting that they're...
Unless you count the celebrity match, which I don't.
Oh, it's interesting that they are the odd couple because they seem more similar than you might think in terms of how they view the game in a sense.
Well, I don't know. I mean, gay, straight, hair, no hair.
The hair part is great.
Comic book writer, movie writer, funny guy, really not that funny at all, Jeff Snyder, and. Also, you make a good case. Andreyko respectful, Snyder so not respectful. If you follow him on
I retract
Twitter,
my previous statement. I stand corrected.
They're very odd, although they both can look a little slovenly in their t-shirts. They're very different. They're very odd. They're definitely an odd couple.
Well, Whatever the case, I really look forward to seeing what they can do. It's going to be interesting. And plus, I really love that Roxy's going to be a little bit more involved in the Schmoedown. You know, she's doing the post-match interviews sometimes now, and now she's got the managing position here. And the fans love her, so it's going to be I just really love what's happening this season. I don't know about you, John. I mean, I've heard Christian talk about he feels like it's the magic season, and I got to tell you, I feel the same way, and like I'm a little bit more far removed from what's going on there on the daily, but it just feels like it's heading in the right direction, and it's just when you watch these cutscenes and you watch the matches and the production and everything that's happened so far, and we're only barely a month into the season, or a little over a month. I'm just really excited. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think people better strap in. Season 6, I think Kristen's right, the magic season. I also think, kind of going out on our own, doing the Patreon stuff, doing these live matches more and more, going around the country. This was stuff Kristen talked to me about 2 years ago. So to see it all starting to happen now, traveling around the country with the Schmoedown is pretty incredible, and to see the fans' reaction to it as well. So there's really a make it or break it kind of feeling amongst everybody here. We know we're sitting on something pretty amazing, and if everything breaks right, we all could be in on the ground floor of something that will really explode. And so all of us feel that extra level of commitment or desire or hunger to bring our best to the Schmoedown, whether it be in cutscenes or in matches. And I think there's a lot of lunacy planned for this entire season 6 that will shock, excite, upset, frustrate, and ultimately satisfy a lot of fans in the Schmoedown. So yeah, that's what I would tell you. This is the season to get on board. And even hesitating, telling your friends, your family about it, I would not hesitate anymore. Yeah. This is where you want to get. There's a lot of young rookies. We just had Oyama up there. Chances into his second year. We got a lot of young people rolling through. Janine is like now even more determined. Says she's not afraid of hard work. You have Jay Washington. You have Ethan doing his managing thing. You have Ethan Irwin. What's he going to be like with that loss of the belt? How hungry is he going to be? Tag team division, Star Wars division, Inner Geekdom division. So many, and the singles, of course. So much stuff happening amongst the players there. A lot of moving pieces, and I think that free for all is really gonna go a long way to setting the table for this season.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the live matches we have lined up, Chicago and Free For All. Are you gonna be here for Chicago at Celebration?
For Celebration, I will be because we're doing a top 10.
That's right.
We're doing 2 shows. I should announce it now for anybody who's listening. On April 11th, that Thursday, because we know the Schmoedown and Christian and Mark and Josh, they all got Friday, Saturday, and what they're doing there. But we thought we'd grab Thursday at Reggie's Live. You can go to reggieslive.com.
Oh, okay.
We're doing 2 shows there at Mark Ellis's place where he's doing the stand. We're doing 2 shows on Thursday night. $20 each show. 2 different lists each show, so 2 different shows.
Oh,
but if you want to come to both, you can get 2 for $30, and you want to you get both shows for $30, and you want to get ahead of time because day of show the prices go up by $5 each. Okay. So if you want to come see the top 10 show live, me and Matt Nose doing our thing after our triumphant London live show, you can come see us during Celebration in Chicago.
Yeah, when I heard it was Reggie's, I was like, wait, you're doing it at Reggie's? Because Reggie's is a place that I would go to because they would have this package where it's like $40 and it's like all you can eat buffet, drink, and then they bus you to Sox Park for the game, and then they bus you back to the bar, and it's a great time. It's a great time. So when you guys said Reggie's, I was like, whoa. They're doing that stuff too? I was like, this is awesome because that's like it's in like the South Loop area, so it's a lot of fun over there. So I'm excited to see you guys out here. Everyone from Collider and the Schmoedown's gonna be out here. It's gonna be crazy out here in Chicago. Star Wars Celebration Week with everything you got going on. As we wrap up here, you mentioned you're gonna be in London. Is there still tickets available for that, or is it all?
There's like 2 or 3 tickets left for. We released our comps, so there's 2 or 3 tickets left for February 23rd. If you're in London, you want to come see Matt Nose and I do our thing live. It's a 200-seat theater, and the fact that we've almost sold out, we're only 2 or 3 tickets away, pretty incredible, and shows you the reach we have as a show. It's a little humbling as well to know that so many people are coming out to see us live who've wanted to see us live. That's at kingsplace.co.uk. Go there if you want to try and see if there's any tickets left for that show. And follow the top 10 show, do all that kind of stuff. Am I wrapping up here? Follow me at the Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And of course, the Cinephiles, We just dropped a new episode, part 1 of Shawshank Redemption. Part 2 will be next week. We've got Coming to America coming up on the slate. So there's a lot of things that we're planning with the Cinephiles as we kind of I want to build that out as big as Top 10 as well this year. So I got a lot of goals for 2019.
I love Top 10, but I think I might like Cinephiles a little bit more personally. I just love what you guys do on that show, and I love you guys in those too. But man, well, they're both great. Let me just say that.
Chris, I wish Chris would listen to either of them. He's such a jerk. He won't listen to any of my shows.
Oh, I'm so busy. But
yeah, being in a tribute band, it's tough. It's tough business, people. It's tough.
It's tough.
A good tribute band. It's a good tribute.
Yeah, good. That's what I saw the video. All the shit I give Chris. Honestly, that was really great, and I am super bummed that I missed that. Maybe even more than the Schmoedown matches. I'm super bummed I missed that night of music. I'd have been sitting there front row with a big smile on my face.
Yeah, maybe next time if when the Schmoedown does come back to New York, you can be there, John. But you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChrisClug8788. Those numbers mean nothing. You can also just make sure to subscribe to the Schmoedown podcast feed I'm running on Spotify and iTunes. And also listed in the link below is an unlisted link to the actual aforementioned fan meetup concert video. So make sure to check that out. I also streamed that in the Facebook group. So if you missed it, check it out. It was a fun night and hope to see you guys next time. Bada bing, bada boom.
That's right, bada bing, bada boom. I'm Frank Janisch. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. What's up?
Did you say Ginge?
No, you said Janisch.
Oh, never mind.
Okay.
He did. Let me rewind the tape.
That's right, bada bing, bada boom. I'm Frank Janisch. You can find me.
Yeah, he did.
Well, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at FrankieJ29. That has been the Schmoedown Rundown. Thank you, John Rocha, for joining us. Clark, glad to have you back this week, and we'll see you next week.
Gilmore, you're a coward.
Yeah, he is.